U of T threatens to clear encampment this morning. Board orders trucker responsible for Humboldt Broncos crash deported. The U.S. is quietly giving grants to mining companies in Canada. Israel targets safe area in Rafah, resulting in a massacre. And more than 100 people killed in El Fasher in Sudan as violence escalates. Good morning. It's Monday, May 27th. I'm Nora. Here are your headlines. The University of Toronto has threatened students at the pro-Palestine encampment with taking, quote, all necessary legal steps, unquote, to clear the campus if the students do not do so by 8 a.m. this morning. That's Eastern time. This comes after the university issued a trespass notice to the students on Friday. The encampment and university organizers met on Sunday evening, though it's unclear what emerged from the meeting as of last night when, this is being recorded. The students restated their commitment to keeping the encampment going until the university meets their demands. They are calling on the university to cut all ties with Israel, divest from any companies benefiting from the genocide Israel is carrying out in Gaza, and cut ties with any Israeli universities that are complicit in the genocide. The university had made an offer last Thursday, which the organizers said did not sufficiently meet these demands. In response to the university's threats, the Ontario Federation of Labour's president, Laura Walton, published an open letter to U of T's president, Merrick Gertler. In it, Walton warned Gertler that if the university chose to try and clear the encampments, they'd, quote, have to go through the workers first, unquote, and called on trade unions and allies to join the students on campus Monday morning in solidarity. And I want to say, good luck, lots of solidarity to those campus unions, especially QP 3902 and the United Steelworkers Local 1998. And, of course, the Faculty Association, which I believe is still not yet a union. Meanwhile, many are expressing disappointment after students at McMaster University voted to end their encampment and agree to a piecemeal deal offered by that university. The organizers there had been demanding that the university disclose all its investments connected to Israel and the genocide and divest from them, cut ties with Israel academic institutions, and declare Israel's assault on Gaza a genocide. In the accepted deal, the only demands that the university seem to have agreed to are the disclosure part, having one of the organizing groups, Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights, present on divestment to the Board of Governors, and having a group present in June's meeting with the Chief Financial Officer about the university's investment strategy. Next, Canada's Immigration and Refugee Board has decided to have the driver who was involved in the Humboldt Broncos bus crash in 2008 deported to India. Jaskirat Singh Sidhu arrived in Canada in 2014. In 2018, he was driving a truck when he drove into a bus carrying the Humboldt Broncos junior hockey team. 16 people were killed, while 13 others were seriously injured. Sidhu had pleaded guilty to dangerous driving and was given an 8-year prison sentence. Last year, he received full parole. Now, late last year, the federal court dismissed applications from Sidhu's lawyer, who argued that Border Services had not considered Sidhu's remorse and clean criminal record when they ordered that he be deported. Trent Cook, who oversaw Sidhu's latest deportation hearing, said that he could not, quote, consider humanitarian and compassionate factors, unquote, in the decision, because Canada is racist and punitive. Next, to surprising news from CBC's Alex Pineda that the U.S. has paid some $15 million to Canadian mining companies who are mining copper, gold, graphite, and cobalt in both Quebec and the Northwest Territories. The U.S. hasn't done this since the Second World War. The article is confusingly called Analysis, which is the label that CBC slaps onto articles that go a bit deeper than just news. But on its own, this is kind of pretty newsworthy and deserves probably its own treatment. The U.S. is doing this to shore up its own supply of critical minerals while China grows to dominate the industry. The funding would come under something called the U.S. Defense Production Act. Pineda notes that there is a catch to this money. No, not the catch of Canada having no national sovereignty or ability to deny the United States anything, but that they would, quote, leap to the front of the customer line, unquote, in the case of buying these critical minerals, which of course they would. They are the United States and we are Canada. One of the companies involved is called Fortune Metals. They are trying to open a mine in the Northwest Territories and open a processing facility in southern Canada. Oddly, the article isn't more specific about either location. The other company is Lomico Metals, and it wants to mine graphite in Quebec. Moving now to international news and to Rafah, where Israel carried out a massacre on Sunday. According to the Associated Press, initial reports stated that over 20 people were killed when an Israeli airstrike hit tents housing displaced people in Rafah. That number is likely much higher now. The airstrikes came a few hours after the Knesset, Israel's parliament, voted to declare UNRWA a terrorist organization. The tents that were targeted were near UNRWA warehouses. The videos and photos of the massacre coming out of Rafah are truly horrific. Horrific actually doesn't really describe them. It's beyond thinkable. It's as if you're reading about the firebombing of Dresden and all you can do is imagine it, except there it is on camera. Many of the tents caught on fire and people were trapped inside. According to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, Israel had previously designated that area a humanitarian area, and it's where families had evacuated to. This also comes after the International Court of Justice issued an order late last week for Israel to cease its assault on Gaza and And finally, Doctors Without Borders in Sudan continues to be seemingly the only voice on the ground reporting out of El Fasher in North Darfur. Recall that the army and the paramilitary group RSF have been fighting in that city, vying for control. According to Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, the latest violence has left over 100 people dead and over 900 people wounded. In a statement, the group said this, quote, "The numbers of people killed and wounded are increasing each day as intense fighting continues. We urge warring parties to do more to protect civilians," unquote. This comes as all attempts at ceasefire talks or a deal between the two groups continue to fail, leading to what the UN is calling one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. Those are your headlines for Monday, May 27th. I'm Nora. You're listening to this podcast at sandynora.com, on the Real News Network podcast feed, and anywhere you get your podcasts. I hope you have a wonderful day. Despite all the news out there, it's not good. But, the only antidote is that you get involved in something. I'll talk to you tomorrow.